Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So welcome everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam class, daily study of the Srimad Bhagavatam here at the Bhakti Center and throughout the internets. And we are on Canto 10, Chapter 56. This is the pastime of the Shamantaka jewel, and we are reading, going on from text number 23. Dvandva yudham satumulam ubayor vijigiksha toto ayudhasha ashma durmer dhorbi kravyarte senayor iva. The two fought furiously in single combat, tumultuously, tumalam, each determined to win, contending against each other with various weapons, then with stones, tree trunks, and finally their bare arms. They struggled like two hawks battling over a piece of flesh. Asittad ashtavimshaham itereta mushtibihi vrajra nikshepa parushe avishramam aharnisham. The fight went on for 28 days. Ashtavimsha. The two opponents striking each other with their fists, which fell like cracking blows of lightning. Vajra. Krishna Chakravarti Thakur points out, this is the purport, that the fight continued day and night without intermission. Aharnisham. Krishna mushti vinishpatha nikpishtan guru bandanaha shina sattva swinagatras tam ahativa vismitaha. His bulging muscles pummeled by the blows of Lord Krishna's fist, his strength faltering, his limbs perspiring, Jambavan, greatly astonished, finally spoke to the Lord. Jane tvam sarva bhutanam prana ojasaho bhalam Vishnum purana purusham Prabha Vishnum Adishwaram. Jambavan said, I know now that you are the life air, all the sensory, mental, and bodily strength of all living beings. You are Lord Vishnu, the original person, supreme and all-powerful controller. I'll read the Sanskrit again. It was very nice. Janetram sarva bhutanam prana oja saho balam vishnum purana purusham prabha vishnum adhishwaram. In the next verse, last verse we are reading. Tvam hi vishwa shrijam shasta Shishtanam apiyachasat kala kalayatam isha para atma tatatmanam. You are the ultimate creator of all creators of the universe and of everything created. You are the underlying substance. Ramananda is making a little bit of noise. Shh. You are the subduer of all subduers, the supreme Lord, and the supreme soul of all souls. And this is our last purport. Very long purport, everyone. Pay attention. As Lord Kapila says in the Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-42, Mitru charati madbhayat. Death himself moves about out of fear of me. That's it. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshul Munitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shitapada Kamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Gurun Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sajagatam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vitamscha Katanchana Smite Yasmin Duskaram Sukaram Bhavet Vismite Viparitam Shat Shri Chaitanya Namamitam. So here we're hearing this grand fight of Jambavan and Krishna. 28 days, day and night, fighting. First with weapons, then with tree trunks, then with stones, and then with their bare fists. Now, this may seem like a long fight, but Jambavan is very old. Jambavan is very old. How old is Jambavan? Jambavan is basically older than creation. Jambavan was at least older than this planet. He was, since 6 months before the planet was created. He was around this planet, and he was there, and he witnessed the 1,000-year fight between Madhu and Kaitaba and Lord Vishnu. Famous Krishna is known as Madhusudan Kaitaba Jit. He's known as the killer of Madhu. Madhu is these were personalities that personified the lower modes. Like Madhu was the mode of ignorance, and Kaitaba is mode of passion. And they fought for a long time. There's many different pastimes. Many of these pastimes, even Jambavan's pastimes, are in the various Puranas. But these pastimes are described from various kalpas, so sometimes they have a little bit of different descriptions. These two demons actually came out of Vishnu's ears while he was resting, and they actually had powerful boons that they could not be killed by anyone. And there's a whole pastime, but ultimately the Lord defeated them. So he saw Jambavan. He saw these demons. He actually saw all of the Lord's avatars: Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Nrsinga, Devan, Vamana. He was there for all the different pastimes. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha. He was still very young during those millions and millions of years. And Vamana, he was so excited with this Vamana pastime. And some of us, we may read Bhagavatam and we don't get so excited, but this devotee, very excited to be a witness of the Vamana pastime. And so within 3 moments, he circumambulated the universe 21 times in his great appreciation of Vamana's Leela. And he, at some point, he offended one of the rishis, or one of the devas. I think it said it was Maruti or somebody, and then he cursed him to become old because he had so much power. And then so you see in the Ramayana, he's there. So he's there all the way up into the Lord Ram's pastime, and he's there. He's saying, he's much older. And he said, I could jump to Lanka. He's the one that was if you've seen the Japanese animation Ramayana, he's speaking to Hanuman. He's telling him, Hanuman, in the past you had great powers, but these powers have been made obscure to you. So the devas, they were also didn't like the great power of Hanuman. So they, when he was a young child, so they kind of made it illusioned him that he wasn't aware of his great powers, and so he didn't have access to it. So Jambavan made him aware right before Hanuman made that jump to Lanka. He said, "I could do that, but I wouldn't have the strength to jump back." He was so he was quite very powerful being, and then he is there all the way till Krishna's Leela, and he's fighting with Krishna. Actually, it's described the acharyas described that Krishna was kind of disappointed with the fights that he got. He's like, I haven't gotten a good fight. All these folks are weaklings. Kamsa, if you read about Kamsa, if you read in the Garga Samhita, all the demons that Krishna fought, Putana, not Putana, because Putana, but Bakasura, Denakasura, Keshi, Aristasura, Vyomasura, they all were subjugated by Kamsa. He would go to them and say, let's fight. If I win, you're my slave. If I lose, I'm your slave. And this way he subjugated every single demon that Krishna fought in Krishna's Leela. But here Krishna is the acharyas are explaining that Krishna was a little disappointed. I'm not getting a good fight. These are all, weaklings. Kamsa, what did he do? He's gone. He's like, that's it. Game over. But here we find Krishna's getting a nice fight with Jambavan. Service is not limited. We can serve Krishna in so many different ways. And so Jambavan, they're fighting 28 days. And it's described that his being pummeled, and he realized, okay, this must be God. Nobody can nobody could express such massive strength. So these seems like, for many people around the world, this seems like very wild stories. Like if you have one of the old Mahabharats translated into English, you have like the British who translate Sanskrit texts. And you have Mahabharata, it's 18 chapters, but theirs would have 19 chapters. And the 19th chapter would describe how all this stuff sounds like, they would say, okay, this part's a gross exaggeration. This part is defective teachings. The Max Mueller Mahabharata. They couldn't, wrap their minds around all these different exotic and one of the things that really disturbed them, Max Mueller was saying that this is more disturbing. We see that the Africans and even the Native Americans are not so low, that these Indians believe that the excrement of an animal, the holy cow, is somehow special. But we find that actually you can test there. Of course, we can't go in the past and see the bridge for ourselves, the building of the bridge, or all the different things that happen. But many of these things you can test, like we can test if we're not the body. We can see that with a kind of a test of an experimental thought. Or you can, as Prabhupada said, the doctors, they did a test on cow dung, and they said it has antiseptic properties. They did a whole medical test. And therefore you find that there's many of these things, although seeming quite wild, you can confirm. And then the other things is that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So if God appears, the most extraordinary being, you can't expect him to do very ordinary things. It's got to be extraordinary. So yeah, this Jambavan. So many. He is basically throughout all different Puranas. It says born 6 months before the earth in the Adi Purana. There's even a book called the Jamba Purana. So here in this last verse, we have this line here, this that was quoted, Lord Kapila. Mrityus charati mad bhayat. This point is also repeated in the Taittiriya Upanishad. Bhishma sat vatta partave bhishode sura bhishma sa agnis chenda chamityu tavati panchama. That's meaning that out of fear of me, we can click on that verse 325:42. Because of my supremacy, the wind blows. Out of fear of me, the sun shines. Out of fear of me, the Lord of the clouds, incense showers forth. Out of fear of me, fire burns out of fear of me, and death is taking its toll out of fear of me. Now, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he describes that there are basically 4 levels of religious inspiration. And he said the bottom level is out of fear. This is a very low form of spiritual inspiration. Then above that is some what is called prospect, that there's some idea that you'll get something. Then above that there's a sense of duty, a sense of gratitude. But then the highest is priti, out of affection. Like a parent, a child can listen to the parent because the parent is like a tyrant, and just out of fear. Maybe if I don't listen, they're gonna slap me, beat me, restrict me in so many different ways. So out of fear, or the child may, if I do this, I get, maybe I get allowance, I'll get something. Or maybe the child is feeling just some sense of gratitude out of duty, but the parent is feeling the best exchange is when the child is doing it out of affection, out of priti. Duty is not necessarily, it's not really on the level of pure devotion. It's just a sense of gratitude, but it's the devotion is really expressed in this affectionate stage. So Bhakti, these verses that were quoted, this is from 3rd Canto, chapter 25, Lord Kapila is speaking. Lord Kapila is the Lord himself. And so what is he speaking here? He's saying, out of fear of me, the wind blows. Well, in the verse before that, he says that the devotees actually have no fear. Let's go to that verse. So we're here. This is 42. So we can go to 41. That the terrible fear of birth and death can never be forsaken by anyone. Nobody can get rid of this fear who resorts to any shelter other than myself. For that I am the Almighty Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the original source of all creation, and the Supreme. So there's only way to get rid of fear is to give yourself unto the Supreme Lord. And why does he speak this verse about out of fear of me, the devas do this, the devas do that, out of fear of me, even death acts. He speaks that verse to give confidence in his ability to take care of his devotee. Even the devotees the practitioner may think, well, if I give myself to you and I neglect, all kinds of, karmakanda rituals where I'm petitioning the devas and pritis and everything, that I will, I will offend the devas. And he's explaining, actually, no, everybody is under me, and I have confidence in my protection, have confidence in my ability. In fact, the devas will not obstruct you. If the devas ever interfere with my devotees' progress in any way, I swiftly correct that situation, as you see in the pastime of Indra and Govardhan Puja. And so then in the next 43rd verse, he says that he talks about Yoga Mishra Bhakti and Jnana Mishra Bhakti, or Bhakti Mishra Jnana. Which one is it? Yoga. That the yogis equipped with transcendental knowledge and renunciation engage in devotional service for their eternal benefit. Take shelter of my lotus feet, since I am the Lord. Thus they're eligible to enter the kingdom of Godhead without fear. So the yogis approach me, by doing this, they become without fear. And then he says, in the 43rd verse, he's saying talking about pure bhakti. He's saying those whose minds are fixed on the Lord engage in intensive practice of devotional service. This trivrena bhakti yogena. This is the only means for final perfection in life. And you find the same in this. Lord Kapila is saying the same thing later on, just 4 chapters later. He talks about, out of fear of me, the Devatas do the duties, the trees, the creepers are growing, the rivers are flowing, the oceans don't overflow, fire burns, gravity happens, space, the universe, the gun avatars appear, time, birth, death, even death dissolves under. So he's giving this confidence of his ability to be there for his devotee. This is, you find in, chapter 16 of the Bhagavad Gita. These are certain principles that are endowed by godly men. And that first one is, or not first one, but one of them is this, first one actually. Abhayam Sattvam Sudhir. And Srila Prabhupada describes that this is he describes all these different qualities and how some of these qualities are expressed in like Kshatriya Dharma. Some of these qualities are expressed in Brahmana Dharma, or some of these qualities are expressed by brahmacharis. Some of these qualities are expressed by grihastas. So sannyasi, that's the quality that is there. Is, what does it say? In Varnashrama, the institution of sannyas, or a person renounces the order of life, is considered to be the head or the spiritual master of all social statuses and orders. The Brahmana is considered the spiritual master of the other 3 sections of society, namely the Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. But the sannyasi, who's on the top of the institution, is considered to be the spiritual master of the Brahmana also. For a sannyasi, the first qualification should be, any guess? Krishna Daya?
Always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna.
The mic, maybe I couldn't hear.
Always remember Krishna and never forget Krishna.
Here Prabhupada says the first first quality of a sannyasi is fearlessness. Fearlessness. Because a sannyasi, here it continues, has to be alone without any support or guarantee of support. He simply has to depend on the mercy of Krishna. If one thinks, after I leave my connections, who will protect me? He should not accept the renounced order of life. One must be fully convinced that Krishna, the personality of Godhead, and his localized aspect of Paramatma is always within. That he is seeing everything and he always knows what one intends to do. Thus, he must have firm conviction that Krishna as Paramatma will take care of the soul surrendered unto him. I shall never leave him alone, one should think. If I live in the darkest regions of the forest, I shall be accompanied by Krishna, and he'll give me all protection. This conviction is called abhayam, fearlessness. This state of mind is necessary for the person in the renounced order of life. We even find these gradations of faith. Prabhupada talks about his godbrother from the Nabi family. And he says there is a family, his godbrother is very wealthy, but it all started with a dead rat business. He said that in that family they had an ancestor, not like a far ancestor, but one of maybe the grandfather. He was or maybe even the father. He was a businessman, and Prabhupada explains, he approached his friend asking for some money, some capital to start a business. And his friend said, "You're a Vaishya. There's money everywhere. Well, why are you asking me? You should understand that there's money everywhere. There's money in the street." He said, "See that rat? That is money." And at the time, the government was giving 2 annas, which is a currency. They were giving people money for taking a rat off the street due to the Black Plague, the fleas on the rat carry the plague. So if you take a rat off the street, they give you and just bring it to the office for proper disposal, then they would give you 2 annas. And so this man was obviously, in a very poor condition, but he kind of took this advice, and then with that 2 annas, he bought some like kind of not so good looking beetle nuts, washed it up, sold it for the next thing, and then like this he was able to build up a stock of money. And Prabhupada explained that anybody who takes birth in that family, upon taking birth, they deposit 5,000 rupees, which is a lot more back then, into the account, and when they're 18, they take it out with interest, and there good interest rates back then, and so they take it out interest when they're 18. And says the whole family is very wealthy. And then Prabhupada continues to speak. He says that this is the Vaishya. He has faith that if I do this work, he said the Brahmana, he has full faith that if I do the work that I'm designed to do, that is in my psychophysical nature, that is Chaturvarna Maya Shishtam, that is according to how Krishna has designed me. If I do that work, I'll get what I deserve. I have that faith. He said that the Vaishya, the Brahmana has full faith. The Kshatriya has faith, but less. He said the Vaishya has faith, but less. He said the Vaishya in India, they would go during the daytime and morning time sell dal, and the evening time sell kerosene. And he said the Shudra has no faith. Means this is a person who doesn't have confidence that they can just work according to some type of inner ability, and they're going to be taken care of, protected. They need the protection or the security of working under somebody. And you find in our universities and our education, most of the time we're not being trained to be independently thoughtful and independent in our kind of spirit of business and taking care of ourselves. We're taught to work for others, to be in the particular system. And we find that many of very successful business people did it, on their own without going through the universities and such. Of course, you can always use all those things, but it's higher education is not very high. It's still on a kind of Sudra level where you're just taught to work for people instead of becoming independent business person or successful in a very independent way. And so Prabhupada says, yeah, this is the Brahmana has this full faith that if he does his higher, someone put higher education. Someone wrote in the chat, higher education as HIRE, like you get hired. That's good. And so, yeah, the Brahmana has that full faith, and he has this fearlessness, and the highest expression of that is meant to be seen in the sannyasi, full faith that he lives without the whole material security blanket. He understands that the Lord is there to protect him, and traditionally the sannyasis would travel without any sense of security. So yeah, little points there. We find like for example, there's one verse that says that the brahmanas did not keep savings. So that at this point, the temple, one might think the temple management's going to start calling everybody up and saying, "Hey, do you have a savings account? Okay, close it. You're not supposed to have it if you're going to be a brahmana." And then behind after that sentence, the brahmanas don't have savings, is the next part of the sentence is because the kings take care of the brahmanas nicely. So we have to have faith, but our faith shouldn't be kind of a blind idealistic. We should have a clear understanding of our position and our capabilities and our situation, and then apply that faith. So that's a little counterpoint there. So here we'll stop here, see if there's reflections, comments, or questions. Bhima coming.
Yeah. Everybody's coming. Everybody's rushing to this.
Let Bhima go.
Haribo.
Go ahead, Adipusha. Baby.
Who's going to go?
You go, Bhima.
Just very quickly, it is, at least for myself, and I'm sure for everybody else. By the way, can I be heard okay, not breaking up?
We hear you.
Okay. So the concept of abhayam, or fearlessness, is so very important, because in order to have fearlessness, especially, I guess, in every day and age, but if you're paying attention to what's going on now, the world is a-changing, and and we all are struggling, whether to where the income is going to come from, whether someone is sick with something, whether we ourselves, our health, our physical health, is being threatened, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things to be anxious about. And of course, the only way to become fearless, or without anxiety, Vaikuntha, without anxiety, is to just always remember that Krishna is in control. So that sort of like always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna, is the key. It's the linchpin, the hinge point of what fearlessness is all about. It's giving way our own particular understanding, literally on a day-to-day basis. Let the evils of the day be sufficient thereof, meaning whatever is going to trouble me, I should only be concerned for today. And then during that day, we always have to remember that Krishna is allowing things to happen to us. He's taken a personalized hand through Paramatma and Guru, and our devotional service, a personalized hand, meaning he's directly involved in our lives, and he's taking us through lesson by lesson. And as we pass them, believe it or not, these lessons get harder and harder. Like as in school, you go from first standard to second standard to third grade, fourth grade. Everything gets harder and harder. The challenges become more and more complicated, more sophisticated. These challenges being presented into threats to our health, threats to our livelihood, threats to our particular way of thinking about things. Where the world will always place us in this precarious position of doubting, our security within it. And so that the only way that we can become abhayam, fearless, is to remember, as Nityananda Chandra was saying, he was explaining how Krishna was there battling every single agent of material nature, all the slings and arrows that come against us, that Krishna is always there doing the battle for us, and that we simply have to remember him. And it's not only just the battles that we have that seem mundane, as in how will I keep my job if AI is threatening it, right? Just mundane things. How will I take care of them? Like I woke up this morning and every joint in my body hurts. This is a new thing for me over the past couple months. And I realize, I'm at that age and everything's hurting now and it doesn't go away. How do I handle that? Do I freak out or do I say, oh, Krishna, here it comes, and I just got to get through it, and I'll let the pain, I promise myself that the pain that I feel will be my remembrance of Krishna. So anyways, I'm sorry to ramble on, but it's such an important topic because to be fearless, there's only one way to be fearless, and that is to remember that Krishna is behind every little thing that is happening to us. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And we got Adi Purusha Prabhu and Jaini Tai.
How do you do this, Boo?
They just talk. They're there.
I can't hear you.
Just talk.
Hare Krishna, can you hear me okay?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Very important point about fearlessness. We were just reading that unless we surrender, being aware of Krishna's omnipotence is good. Being aware of his beneficence is good. But then again, we have to say, yes, Lord, what you want, let's do it your way. And I was wondering, sort of a question, my understanding, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jambavan, he's fighting with Krishna ferociously, right? So at one point he's antagonistic toward the Lord, but then he starts to acknowledge that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And my understanding is that, like you said, Krishna wanted a good fight, so he pleased the Lord by fighting.
Yeah, he also had he asked for the boon from Lord Ram. Can I fight you?
Oh,
So he said, yes.
but it was pleasing. It was pleasing to the Lord, and because of his devotional service, he began to perceive Krishna as Krishna. So, is it that he figured it out, or is it that Krishna revealed himself because he was pleased by the service of fighting with him?
Both, yeah. If Krishna is revealing, and therefore he figures it out. I also wanted to share, this is from 7th Canto. These are some techniques that are given. How to deal with certain things. Lust, fear, anger. This is, I believe it's spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. This is 7th Canto, chapter 15. So it says, making plans with determination. One should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, envy oftentimes is the word envy. The more appropriate word would be hostility. Because somebody would say, well, I'm not jealous, but if you have hostility, that's usually this word. Word is used here? There's several words for envy in Sanskrit that we use, but generally it's oftentimes referring just to as a general hostility, not necessarily, oh, I'm jealous. One should give up anger, and by discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed, and by discussing truth, one should give up fear. And then there's a very nice, in the purport, Prabhupada quotes Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and he talks about lust, which is a big one. He says, what if it's Janmashtami, or if it's Ekadashi, or Gaur Purnima, or Ram Navami, you say, okay, it's Ram Navami. Okay, that's a good one. Ram Navami. You can fast till noon, or you can fast till sunrise. So what if in your mind you think, I'll fast till sunrise, but maybe I'll fast till noon. If that's going on in your mind, you're going to fast till noon. If the option is there, if your mind is going wavering, so a sankalpa means, when you have a sankalpa, means this like a vow, a determination. The hardest time to fast is when you are not clear that you want to fast. That's the hardest time. If you're thinking, maybe I'll fast, then you're not going to fast. Or you're going to be, maybe you're fasting, but your brain is going to be thrown in huge turmoil and circles and circles. But if you decide, this is what I'm going to do. And so, Prabhupada quoting Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he says, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur suggests how one can conquer lusty desires for sense gratification. One could give up thinking of one cannot give up thinking of women, which is for thinking in this way is natural. Even while walking on the street, one may see so many women. However, if one is determined not to be in a sexual relationship, like this, they say someone's a sannyasi or a brahmachari. If or they're married and they're determined, this is like, I'm not going to be interested in anybody else. If the option is not there, then the mind's not going to constantly go there. But if you think, oh, it's a possibility, maybe I'll get in a relationship, then the mind will constantly go towards it. He says, for example, in this regard, even if one is hungry on a particular day, if he's determined to observe fasting, he can naturally conquer the disturbance of hunger and thirst. Similarly, if someone's determined not to be envious or hostile towards anyone, he can naturally conquer anger. Similarly, one can give up the desire to accumulate wealth if it's considered how difficult it to protect money in one's possession. Okay. There's little keys how to deal with certain things.
Any type of book you want to talk? No.
Anytime, Peru. All right.
Haribhusha Prabhu, we heard you talking. Would you like to say something?
I don't feel Prabhupada asking me to say anything right now. Like I shared before about fearlessness is connected to surrender. And it says that without surrender, we won't actually be able to be loving or fearless. We know Krishna is powerful, but do I want to do what he wants? That's a really tricky thing. Even for devotees, we even hearing about the highest platform of Ahitukya Pratiyata, sometimes people resist. Don't say that because people will feel, but Krishna is pleased if we do our best, no matter what status we have, no matter what degree of renunciation or love we have. Krishna, I offer you myself as I am. I'm going to really do my best to please you. And then he's pleased because the criteria is not just what is accomplished externally, but that the Lord is pleased. So I don't have to compare myself to anybody else, but I do know what the standard is, and I will endeavor for that. It's a simple life. Success is available for everyone, even at this moment, for all of us. Because Krishna is so wonderful. We're here to glorify the Lord in the Bhagavatam class. How wonderful is Krishna? We have like about 2 seconds before the conch blows here.
Abound in arthritis. Okay.
Hit play.
Jai Shri Radha Murli Dar Gaur Chandra Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri Dev Bhagavan Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki
Jai Srila Prabhupada. Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Muridhar. Shri Guru Chandra Ki Jai. Everyone on this call Ki Jai. Krishna will protect us. We're doing our part and Krishna will do his part. And he'll take care of us. Right, Nityananda Chandra Prabhu? Is that a valid takeaway? Krishna will take care of us. Good. Thank you. Nice seeing everybody. You look blissful. You're glowing. That means you have devotion in your heart. Hare Krishna.